Cheers.
Cheers.
Congratulations on winning your amazing award.
Oh, it was very nice.
So tell us about last night.
Yeah, it was a good night actually. We were in the top 10. We came in number 2 in the Gourmet Awards, which was fantastic this year. And Mark Best got Best Restaurant, which is fantastic for him.
I'm going to hold this up so that everyone can actually have a look at what you won. I'm going to hold the plate, and I thought maybe some tarts would be nice on this. Or,
well,
we could have something really pretty.
Yeah, do you want the chocolate cake perhaps?
The chocolate cake would be very. I like chocolate. I am known for chocolate. So I wanted to find out that moment that you knew you wanted to be a chef.
Look, one of my very earliest food memories, and I've actually got a photo of myself at home at about, I guess I was just about 2 years old.
Oh wow.
Licking my mum's pavlova beaters, and apparently whenever the pavlova beaters were going, which was reasonably often, and my mum's a very good cook, that's what I was focused on, getting those beaters. So she would say probably that's when I wanted to be a chef. But look, I remember when I was sort of 11, 12, cooking a lot of meals for the family, and really basically pushing Dad out of the way and getting the barbecue tongs.
So do you ever eat junk food?
Oh, look, occasionally on the weekend I'm known to go and get a hamburger.
I have to say, I love a hamburger. To me, a hamburger, a good one,
yeah, absolutely,
is like the best thing. But I like the Aussie one with the beetroot.
Yeah, right, okay.
Do you?
I'm
not.
Do you
like the traditional one?
I take the beetroot off. I think it makes the butt a bit wet. But there is beetroot and non-beetroot hamburger people, I think.
I'm
divided into two
definitely
camps.
a beetroot person, I have to say. For you, what is the hardest thing to cook?
I think a lot of chefs would probably say the simple things are the hardest things to cook because there's nowhere to hide.
Okay.
The cooking has to be perfect. Generally, it's when it's a very straightforward thing, like a perfectly grilled piece of fish. There's nowhere to hide. It has to be perfect. It has to be cooked perfectly.
If you were to choose between olive oil, salt, butter, which one would that be?
We don't use a lot of olive oil in our cooking. We use a bit, but we tend to use quite a lot of butter as well, but we use clarified butter. For cooking with a combination of grapeseed oil because it's a more neutral taste, so I'm not getting that strong taste.
Why do so many people not season? What is this belief that salt is bad for you in food?
I don't know.
It's very important.
It's very important to food, and and I think it's sort of important to look at the amount of salt you're adding and get it right. We never put salt on the table here at Key because some people just have the habit of putting salt straight on their food. But chefs always season when they cook, so that's why we don't put salt on the table because we don't want people to overseason.
Do you have a particular olive oil that you like to use for your dressings, or is there a brand that you like?
Yeah, well, look, really, I think one of the best Australian olive oils that we have is Joseph.
Nice.
First Run. It's a really beautiful oil, and I use it at home for dressing salads and stuff as well. So it's a lovely oil.
Really interesting that you use an Australian one. I'm happy that you do because so many people use the ones from overseas.
Yeah, the Italian ones. Look, I mean, I do use an occasional Italian one too, but I think when Australia makes a good product, we should use it.
I mean, you have your own garden.
Yeah, I do.
Don't you?
Absolutely.
Do you like to garden in the garden?
I love to garden. It's my downtime. I actually use the garden to sort of unwind and relax and get my hands in the dirt, and it sort of centres you. I actually get a lot of seeds from overseas over the internet. I search low and high to find unusual varieties, heirloom varieties of vegetables, and I'll grow them at home first, and I'll find something that I really like, and then we'll get our gardeners in the Blue Mountains, Richard and Nina, to grow it on a big scale for the restaurant.
I want to know which knife. Because everybody wants to know the knife. So
the knife, yeah.
If there's only one knife that you can use for the rest of your life,
right, what would it be?
What knife would it be? And do you have one to show us?
Yeah, I probably do actually. My favourite knife would be my Michel Bras knives, which I bought over in France. And they're made by a Japanese company, Kai.
Okay.
And really, they're so beautiful. They're beautifully handcrafted. I'll go and get one for you.
I'd love to see one.
Cool.
Thank you.
This is my favourite knife.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the company who makes it is Kai from Japan, and this is Michel Bras knife. That's his little symbol, Michel Bras symbol. But it's beautifully crafted. This one's actually coated with titanium, and I use this for a lot of work. It's really good for slicing and sashimi. Beautiful wooden handle, beautiful ergonomic sort of shaped handle. But you can buy a very similar knife without the Michel Bras logo, but it's a Japanese Kai knife. I do believe the Japanese make the best knives.
If I were to say to you one protein for the rest of your life.
One protein.
One protein. Fish, bird, meat, or pork. What would it be?
Oh God, I think pork is pretty versatile.
Okay.
And it's so luxurious. But then again, I don't know. I mean, I really like fish as well. I think fish is beautiful. But I don't know if you had to eat one thing for the rest of your life. I don't know.
I love that because you actually can't answer.
I can't answer it. It's really hard.
How do you answer that?
I don't know. Look, maybe it would be a really good steak too. I don't know. You know.
Or you could have that a couple of different ways. But,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Most famous person you've ever cooked for?
Oh wow. It's been a few interesting people over the years. Look, I think personally for me, cooking for you too and Bono was pretty fantastic when they came to the restaurant a few years ago. Yeah,
Okay.
it was very cool. You know, boyhood heroes, and you know, I remember going to a U2 concert back in 1984 at the Entertainment Centre, and it was only last year that I cooked for them.
I'm glad I got that question. Yeah, it was a good question. If you were at home and you were going to make a seasonal summer recipe,
Okay.
what would your choice be? Just the kids are at home
Yeah.
and maybe you've got some friends coming around and you're going to throw something together. Simple.
Absolutely. Look, I think a barbecue is always a great thing. One thing I love to do around Christmas time is when white peach is around, I make white peach bellinis. And, you know, it's a bit of a cliche, but prawns on the barbecue is pretty hot.
Yeah.
And then, you know, serve them with a really good aioli or something like that. Yeah, or a really nice slow braise, I think, in winter.
Okay.
You know, you can put a really good braise on, leave it on for 4 or 5 hours on really low. And you don't have to do too much work once the initial stuff's done. And then you just serve it, put it in the middle of the table with a big bowl of plantain or rice or something. It's great.
And they just think you're a hero.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
And
that's
it's a
good.
great way to entertain.
What is the worst meal you've ever cooked?
Oh God, that's a hard one. I don't know. I think it's blank from my memory if there was a really worst meal. When I was sort of about how old was I? About 19, and I was cooking dinner for my wife's parents at the time. She was my girlfriend back then, and I think it was the first dinner I cooked for them, and I wanted it to be really special. And I went up to just the local butcher shop and bought a big roll of pork loin, and I spent ages trussing it and turning it and roasted it. And I don't know what happened, but I think I left it in the oven a bit too long and it came out really dry. And everyone was just so polite and, oh, this is lovely, you know, and I'm going, this is terrible. So
there you go.
So there you go. I've got one memory locked in there somewhere.
You got a good one. If I were to ask you who inspires you as a chef, an Australian chef, who would you say? Who would you choose?
Oh, look, I think it'd have to be Neil Perry, to be
Okay.
honest. And the main reason for that is that, you know, Neil has been at it for so long and he's such an innovator, but he's also had a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but he always comes back and he's always positive and he never lets anything, you know, beat him. And he's just such a optimist and a passionate chef. I think, yeah, he's very inspiring. And he was really, I think, the first Australian-born, iconic Australian chef to make it internationally as well.
We've had so many international chefs coming into Sydney, and I mean, I know that you must know so many of them.
Yeah.
Who inspires you internationally?
Oh, look, there are so many, and there's so many great chefs out there, and it's really hard, you know, like, I think, you know, you could say, you know, Thomas Keller and Heston Blumenthal are way up there on my list, and Rene from Norma. But I think if I had to narrow it down, I think Michel Bras, because he was such an original, and the first really to really truly discover the garden and really promote the use of vegetables in a big way. He's a real pioneer. And I think as a current chef, I think Andoni from Megaritz is really pushing some boundaries. His food is just so focused and so singular, and it's a huge risk that he takes with some of the stuff he serves. But as a chef, I can really appreciate his singular vision.
I think that pushing the boundaries is something that you tend to do as well. You like to be able to actually push those, and for me, your food is amazingly balanced between food that's quite progressive, but at the same time still very produce based.
Yeah.
And I think that is a really interesting way. You don't dissect it to the point where it doesn't look like anything you've ever seen before, but at the same time you're still playing and testing those flavors. And just the food we saw in the kitchen now, you know, the beetroot bread that's sort of sitting there, and it's very interesting. So if I were to say the most romantic restaurant other than your own in Sydney, and not where we're sitting now. Well, I'm personally slightly in love with you right now, so that's okay. But if we were going to go somewhere else, where would you go?
Oh, geez, I don't know. Look, I think there are some beautiful restaurants. I actually really like Mark Restaurant because it's so small and intimate, and it's just really tastefully decorated. A lot of couples do go there. It's a small restaurant, and the focus is on great food and great wine. And that's pretty important, I think.
If I was to ask you the one thing that you think you would like everyone to know about you, what would it be?
Wow, that's really interesting. Look, I think from a professional point of view, the one thing I'd like people to know that I'm passionate about is diversity of produce. I mean, there's so much amazing stuff out there, and we get to see such a little amount of the varieties of things that are available. You know, when you go to the supermarket and there's, you know, maybe 5 different apples to choose from, but you know there is literally hundreds and hundreds of varieties out there that are really interesting, but you know, for whatever reason the shelf life's not good or whatever, then they're not used. And I'm really passionate about promoting unusual varieties and diversity of nature, rare breeds of animals, heirloom vegetables, all of that sort of stuff.
And the most sexy produce that there is. I mean, if you're on a hot date and you want to give them the sexiest thing, what is the sexiest thing?
I think it has to be sushi, really.
Sushi,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a textural thing, closely followed by chocolate.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Oh, chocolate is supposed to imitate the feeling of being in love, so you know you're probably halfway there if you give the girl chocolate.
No wonder I don't feel like any today, but you are probably there. And I have to say that your little pearls, your beautiful sea pearls, I mean they're kind of sexy.
Great,
aren't they? I mean they're all texturally beautiful. They're exquisite to look at. They have all that beautiful raw fish that's kind of just yummy
essential
and it's really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's you're getting it right there.
Good.
Your best food moment to date? The best moments in your life, food-wise?
Actually, that's pretty easy. About a year and a half ago, my wife and I travelled through France, and I'd got to know Sebastian Bra quite well because he came out for the food festival and he cooked with us here at Key. And we went to Michel Bra restaurant for dinner, and we had an amazing dinner. That was fantastic, and we stayed overnight. And the next morning, Sebastian came up and said, "My dad would like to cook for you at his house."
Oh wow!
So we went over to his house for lunch, and it was the most amazing thing.
Really?
Yeah, he has a beautiful kitchen, really traditional sort of. What was really interesting was there was a beautiful sort of log fire that you cook over, and on the other side of the kitchen was all these modern appliances, induction tops, and everything. And you know, and we just sat there and had the most simple, beautiful lunch. You know, we had local pâtés and salamis from the area. We had the most amazing. He cooked this amazing asparagus, sweetbread, and morel dish.
Oh, nice.
And then we had some beautiful cheese, some great wine, and it is finished with a big bowl of strawberries and cream. And I'm sitting under the table pinching myself, and Michel Bra is cooking my lunch. And we're having a little intimate table in his house. So it was the best experience ever.
So it kind of mirrors the fact that I'm actually having a really good experience now while I interview you. Because you have to find something. And I mean, let's be honest, interviewing you in this amazing place is spectacular for anybody in my position as a journalist to be able to do that. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful.
We'll have to give you some food as well.
Yes, that would be good, but thanks for the wine.
Excellent.
Okay.